The next game that we're going to be ranking is Devil's Crush, or Devil Crash, or something, which was nominated by @PembrokeWCorgi on Twitter. That sounds like the worst CPA ever. Right? That guy's not doing my taxes. Pembroke W. Corgi. Developed by
never have problems with his username will never be taken, Mr. Pembroke Corgi here.
I like the idea that there's like a Pembroke Corgi Senior and that he goes by Pembroke W. Corgi to differentiate himself.
I just imagine like a cute dog in glasses, and it's pretty great.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm kind of imagining like a George
W. little
Bush
Ivy League outfit.
Maybe it's the real name of Ein from Cowboy Bebop. That dog's got powers, yo.
It was developed by Naxat, which is totally not Taxan.
Nope.
And published by, it depends. It was published by NEC or Hudson or Tengen or Technosoft, depending on the platform. And that platform was TurboGrafx 16/PC Engine. And its earliest release date was July 20th, 1990 in Japan. Who has something to say? This is a video pinball game. It's widely considered to be one of the best ever made, at least in the retro era.
I should kind of clarify something for a bit. This is not remotely a realistic simulation of pinball, and that's okay because it does a lot of cool things that a real pinball table could not do.
Right.
And I think it's kind of important to kind of separate those two sort of subgenres.
Right, which
is
it's
more like fantasy pinball than like virtual pinball.
Right, and that's pretty much the norm now for a lot of new video pinball games. Is they just have
closer to Super Mario Pinball Land, but way less terrible.
Like the current crop of pinball games that people would call video pinball are more or less simulations, even when they aren't necessarily emulating is not the correct word, but attempting to depict existing tables. The new ones that they manage to conjure tend to follow rules that would exist in the world we walk around in.
Right. They'll have like dancing characters and stuff like that on there. Like
this is really
Han Solo or Spider-Man will show up and swing through, but they still follow the basic rules. They try to duplicate the physics of a real pinball table, whereas that really was kind of beyond the ken of a PC Engine game. And so I think they did the next best thing, which is just like, let's just make it crazy.
Right.
And, this is basically Castlevania if it were a pinball game. It's just like, you're basically fighting all these like skeleton spiders and knights and lizards and demons and all that.
Fighting them. You're bouncing a digital ball bearing.
You're just like a pinball. Like, it's still at its core. You're playing a pinball game.
They can't hurt you. All they can do is bounce you off at a bad angle.
Maybe
even if it seems like they can hurt you, like fireballs and stuff come out, and it doesn't do anything.
They can change your trajectory if nothing else.
I mean, I think the video pinball games that most people are going to be familiar with, if any, are probably NES Pinball, which for its time was great. For any other time is not so great. And also, I would say like a lot of Game Boy games. I'd say like Kirby's Pinball is still pretty well regarded.
I grew up playing a lot of Revenge of the Gator.
Yeah.
For me, I think of Sonic Spinball, the 3D Ultra Pinball series, stuff like that.
If you're from Europe, you're going to be digging all the Amiga pinball games because there were a lot of those.
Right, and there's also like a Pinball Creation Kit or something like that, and other things like that. You're looking at, I'd say probably, did this predate Revenge of the Gator? It probably did. No, maybe not.
No.
Let me check.
Revenge of the Gator was an 89 game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
To a guy from a certain other podcast who's working on a certain Game Boy related project.
Oh yeah, you should check it out. Game Boy World by Jeremy Parrish of Retronauts and US Gamer fame.
No, Devil's Crush did come 1 year later, as it turns out.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm not saying like, oh, Devil's Crush is totally ripping off Revenge of the Gator, but I'm just saying like Revenge of the Gator is probably, if you came to Devil's Crush like as a super video pinball fan, you were probably inspired by Revenge of the Gator. At least
don't
if you were.
Don't forget that we're sort of treating Devil's Crush as the first, but it's the second in the Crush line.
Yeah, before it was Alien Crush. Alien Crush was actually 1 year before Revenge of the Gator, as it turns out.
Oh yeah, okay, so forget everything I just said.
Right. I was gonna let you finish at some point. But
just dig your hole and then throw you in it.
Watching me tie that noose.
My fault. I should provide that info.
Giving me enough rope to hang myself. All right, thank you.
Like Devil's Crush is basically iterative on work that was already accomplished in Alien Crush, which is a fine pinball game in its own right. But the steps that they took, I think, to get to Devil's Crush make it, even 26 years later or whatever it is at this point, maybe the pinnacle of the entire genre.
What does it do differently than other video pinball games of its time?
Well, it does a lot of things that a actual physical pinball table cannot really do at all. You've got like enemies that move around the screen and mess with the trajectory of your ball, as we mentioned. You've got like a lot of sub games that you can go to for extra points. And you've got basically a lot of extra visual details that also be really tough to do, if not impossible, on a physical table.
There's the famous like dragon lady in the middle of the table, right? You keep bouncing your ball off of her, and she turns into a snake woman or something, or snake thing.
But like the main thing that sticks out immediately, like if you didn't understand pinball or how things were supposed to feel at all, the thing that's immediately apparent is scrolling in this game. So Alien Crush would move. So it was a multi-screen pinball table that Alien Crush occurred on.
Yeah, it was
and the transition between those screens was not scrolled. Basically, it just transitioned from one to another. It was like moving in Mega Man or something.
It was only 2 screens, as it were, so I guess it wasn't too difficult to basically depict it as 2 different tables.
It's three screens, because it goes, there's the bottom screen, there's the middle screen, and then the top.
Crush. No, I'm saying Alien Crush. Devil's Crush is
Alien
screens.
Crush, yeah, okay, sorry.
Devil's Crush has 3 clearly divided areas, each having their own flippers. And the Dragon Lady's in the middle, the tower, and the skulls at the bottom, and this weird cabal of cultists are circling at the top. Lots of stuff to blow up, like these knights on the side that get you an easier way up to the top table, and it's just like a really fascinating architecture. I mean, if you want to be technical, this is the only table there is, but it's still really meaty, and there are 6 bonus single-screen tables that you can activate by various objectives.
Although I wouldn't call them like proper tables. They're definitely kind of like micro tables. They're not any more expansive than the Sonic Spinball bonus stages. They're just like really small little
or even like the Mario Pinball Land ones, honestly. But
or for that matter, there's the little bonus areas in NES Pinball. Which it had those, and it might have been, it was definitely one of the first, if it wasn't the first. I'll learn my lesson about saying that.
Yeah, a lot of unrealistic virtual pinball tables I play do have these bonus stages, which are basically like boss fights, more or less. At least that's how they're, I see them sort of treated in Devil's Crush. Like, you have these 2 large lizard knights in one, these 3 wizards that keep shielding themselves in another. There's one really difficult one where you actually had to smash every single pot guarded by a bunch of resurrecting skeletons. I could never freaking beat that one.
I believe the stages change a little bit between the ports as well. The bonus stages, I think, are slightly different.
Right, we should mention, a couple of them, at least 2 of them, I believe, were altered for the Genesis port, known as Dragon's Fury, which is also a really great transition if for some... And the Genesis is more widely available, so I think it's certainly a viable alternative to the original, but... no matter which one you play, this is still one of my favorite pinball games of all time, and I say this despite having the pinball arcade. And there's something to be said about how unrealistic this all is. That's great.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's also interesting to me how there are all these great video pinball games coming out of Japan, because to the best of my knowledge, there weren't a whole lot of pinball tables being sent there. They just took up too much space.
I imagine it has to occupy some small part of the market as pachinko.
But pachinko machines, number one, don't take up nearly as much space as a pinball table does. But also, like, pachinko's like, it's kind of its own thing. It's totally not for gambling, but it's for gambling. And
well, that's the original pinball as well, before they invented flippers. It was just
exactly. So, but I mean, I'm sure they had stuff like that. I just don't think it was the kind of phenomenon it was in North America and Europe.
Yeah.
But they must have been aware of it, and they must have. I mean, I bet they thought it was really cool when they did see one, because it would have been a little bit more rare. But also just like it's such a crazy thing. Like if you don't see a lot of those, to see like especially if you're looking at like a table that probably inspired this one, like Gorgar or Black Knight or something like that.
Yeah. Like if you get a chance,
cool.
go look at a Black Knight table at some point and just like realize that every one of those components is actually real and mechanical and is eventually going to break down. And think about how much it takes to maintain that. Like the rubber in the
Black Knight the first table to have like a little sub table at the top, or am I thinking a black hole or something?
I think I'm trying to remember which one came first. I know they've both got it.
I think Black Knight came first because Black Hole's the one where it's reversed because you can only see the other table through a mirror.
Did Haunted House come before Black Hole? Because it also had one of those inlaid reverse tables in it.
Yeah, I guess that would be the equivalent of the bonus stages from Devil's Crush, wouldn't it?
Okay, so Devil Crush is lame then. Never mind.
No. I mean, I'm just saying with those games, like the whole point was multi-ball. You know,
right?
Like you got to do the thing it takes to unlock the multi-ball, and then you just try to rack up as huge a score as you can, and that's basically the game from the late '70s onward. You know, that was the point of real pinball tables.
Yeah, kind of remains to this day.
Video pinball, I mean that's what people like. So video pinball doesn't do that because I don't think it's possible, because you've got these multi-screen approaches where if you had multi-ball, you'd have balls like going up off the screen and not coming back. And
the scrolling to follow a single ball was enough of an achievement.
Most of the new ones do multi-ball because they don't do scrolling anymore.
So they just show you the whole table. There's a high enough resolution you can just see the whole thing.
What I think we need to do is we need to compare this game more to all the other unrealistic video pinball games we're aware of. Like, I mean, automatically it easily beats Mario Pinball Land. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before we go straight into ranking it, is there anything else? Like, is there something super cool about this game that I haven't mentioned?
I guess someone's itching to say. I don't know if Jeff is about to say. But
I don't know if it was Vice that pointed this out. It might have been our good friend at Wild Weasel, but apparently the Mega Drive Genesis port of this, there is a bump function in this game, and there is, the Sega Genesis has a finite amount of buttons on a controller. One of them is mapped to a bump function, but it just does not work. Like that button actually does not do anything. Yeah. So I guess that's cool.
Can you still tilt the machine though?
Yes, you can tilt it. If you mash that button.
So it does nothing but mess.
Like if you mash it about 20 times in a row really quickly, you'll tilt out, but it won't
accomplishes nothing but basically.
I think it might because the screen does shake. I don't know, it might move the pixels like 1 pixel around, so you might just barely do something.
So what you're saying is it's one of very few games that has a lose button.
Yeah, it's not you just mash it anyway because you're like, I'm gonna lose.
So
you just press
it's like this and Metal Gear Solid basically.
In Bushido Blade, right? One of the two Bushido Blade games has a suicide button.
Does that automatically make the TG16 version better because it's somewhat more functional in that regard?
Because it has a functioning bump thing.
Well, I think the TG version would be the most recommended because it has probably the better rendition of the song.
It is freaking metal, man.
I do want to ask real quick, by the way.
Go ahead.
Has anyone actually beaten this game? Because apparently there is an ending. You have to max out the score.
There is a win state. You have to get all 9s.
That's just
999 billion points, I think.
There's not much of an ending. Just some girl appears and you freed her from a curse or something, and that's really all you get. I don't remember exactly how.
Does she smooch the ball?
No.
It's like, thank you for saving me, ball bearing.
Nothing.
Let's get married.
I'd like to think I did okay when I did a couple rounds, but I don't know. I'd say this is even more luck based in your. Well, I guess some people are going to disagree with me, but I would say pinball is a small matter of luck, and this more so.
Well, usually the tilt button is supposed to mitigate your luck.
Right, but it doesn't do anything for you.
So unless you're playing the TG version, you're definitely shit out of luck on that.
Even that doesn't really totally...
The tilt button is like mastering parries in Street Fighter 3. I've never been very good at it. I don't think I'm going to get any better at it either.
Let's pretend like it doesn't exist and rate the game accordingly.
It just does feel
the game does have a tiny bit of a generosity. Like a lot of pinball games, when you ball out the last ball, you get the little rolling number that you can get an extra ball if you press it at the right time.
Mm.
This one feels pretty reasonable. Like that doesn't like you can actually stop it on the bonus ball. I don't know. That's a little nice feature to me. Is that
that's a good point.
You can, because usually if you've played an actual pinball stream, you're never gonna. It's like completely 100% random. There's no way you're stopping it on that number. It doesn't feel rigged on this one. It feels like you can actually stop it.
So why don't we rank this sucker? I mean, I definitely like this game. I like it both as a video pinball game and also as one of the few good non-shooter PC Engine games there is. Or maybe non-shooter, non-bonk.
Non-shooter, non-bonk, non-Keith Courage and Alpha Zones, am I right? I'm being a dingus, I'm sorry.
So I got a quick idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about between Snatcher and Master of Magic?
Let's take a look. About where is that on the list? We got to start saying like
what?
About,
what? That's you're putting it there? That's what?
There are currently 80 games exactly on the list. Snatcher and Master of Magic appear right about the middle.
I feel that's very low for Devil Crush.
All right, what are you thinking?
I'll forgive the pun, but I also do feel it's low balling it.
Jesus
It
Christ.
was just a quick suggestion.
Well, so I guess somewhere above the Wonder Boy region, somewhere in that general area is where I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there are some little minor issues to it that probably would stop me from saying, yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. Like the ball physics aren't super great. I mean, it's 1990, so that's kind of going to happen, but it is always going to be like, oh, the ball's not really doing what I want it to do. So that's, it's always going to get you until you sort of get used to it. So yeah, somewhere in that region was kind of where I was seeing it.
And I think there is a reason why we don't see, even today, we don't see like true video pinball anymore. Like with the, impossible stuff that happens is because it's kind of frustrating. It can seem kind of arbitrary at points, I think. I definitely don't like how it crowds the screen with little like gauntlet enemies that pop out and then like those things your ball doesn't bounce off of or it really just goes straight through them. But when you're like trying to, think about like lining up a shot or something like that, they're distracting. I mean, that's part of the challenge. I'm just saying, like, I think that's one of the reasons why, people have abandoned this as a kind of subgenre
it's worth mentioning,
of pinball
like,
games.
people have kind of abandoned pinball to some extent as well.
Well,
you'll see like one or two new tables every year, but for the most part,
it's like
physical tables,
basically.
I mean,
what
I'm saying when I say video pinball games, I'm talking about games that could not possibly exist in reality. Right. And not just because of like the special effects, but like they are physically impossible to do.
The thing to do now, and Zen pinball is very popular, I think, and that's those. They're kind of like, these are unrealistic, physically impossible to do, but they're still mostly real tables, as we were saying. Like, it's like we put extra pizzazz and mechanics and sort of like systems that couldn't work in real life, but you'd like to have in real life, maybe. They sort of abandon this completely like lunatic, physically impossible, like sort of.
But they do kind of continue like the branding trajectory of the pinball tables of the 90s, which is that like it's really hard to find a video pinball game now, like a new table that isn't based on some kind of license.
Yeah,
which is exactly what happened in the 90s. Yeah,
the last pinball game I could think of that came out that's like purely based in fantasy, like Devil's Crush, was probably Metroid Prime pinball.
Yeah,
but it's based on an existing thing.
Still, yeah, like I like that about Devil's Crush is that it's just Devil's Crush.
Invented
it's based on like generic cartoon Satanism, I think.
It's super metal, and I appreciate that. It is incredibly metal.
It's
one thing that I do like about it, which we mentioned the scrolling. It actually scrolls kind of 2-3 fixed points, and then it kind of transitions between them really nicely, which I thought was cool. Like you might think that it would follow the ball the whole time, but it doesn't do that. It follows the ball, then kind of locks onto 3 individual tables, and it feels really natural when you actually get it. And that's something that I think is underrated in Devil's Crush.
You never feel like you're like missing something in the transition. Like what? Where'd it go? It's like you never feel it's not interrupting the flow of the game, which is cool. I would put it below Blue Stinger, although I think Dogs Bauer would definitely have.
Here we go with the dogs again.
He would be. He'd probably put the moves on Snake Lady.
Yeah, I was looking somewhere between like Final Fight and maybe Outrun, somewhere in that range. Yeah. I would play Outrun over this, but I can appreciate this is probably a better product overall.
I can live somewhere between Final Fantasy and Outrun. You need to narrow it down.
That's a wide margin. We have to get that number.
It is a wide margin, but like, let's say between Bushido Blade and Full Throttle.
Well, I'm saying my thing is like, it's replay value, and I'm not sure how much, because this game doesn't really have a goal, so to speak, except like if you want to max out the counter and like have your ball marry the princess or something.
There is a more defined goal in the Mega Drive version. If you manage to beat all 6 bonus stages, you actually get whisked away to a final boss, if you can believe it. You beat that and the game's over. But,
Wait,
does that give you the same ending, or is that now a different, like, ending? So you've got the max out your score ending for the TurboGrafx, and then on the Mega Drive version, you have a different ending if you beat all 7, basically, table bonuses?
Well, actually, the ending more or less is the same. The ball goes back to the wizard girl, but then, that's really it. Well, this time you get a credits roll, but it's not really too much of a change. Still,
I mean, where would you?
I mean, we gotta rank the PC Engine version because it's not broken, but also
that's a fair point.
I mean, but the other thing is that it's not so much a replay value thing, because I would replay this game easily anytime. Like, I think I might actually have the Japanese version somewhere, but they're all in these little tiny cards, and when I'm flipping.
Well, it's like any sort of proper pinball machine. I don't think you'd step in every day and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna play this game.
Right, and the other thing is that it's not so much replay value. I think the replay value is actually pretty high, because it's always kind of fun to go back to these games. I mean, same thing with Revenge of the Gator and stuff. But the problem is, like, once you get pretty good at it, it starts to get boring, because you're just you don't go anywhere or do anything different. You're just
there's
doing
definitely
the
not
same
very
thing.
many like high level skill shots or anything. Like it feels like you either get the skill shot or you kind of just randomly ball out, and that's it. And especially the boss areas, because some of those things I know, I'm just like, you hit the ball, it bounced like 3 times in full straight down the middle, and you're just like, what the shit?
Like the game doesn't really do anything to acknowledge that you have improved. Like an expert player and someone who is just randomly slapping the paddle for the first time in their life could both get to basically, a full 999 billion points or whatever in the exact same amount of time, it seems, or roughly the same. Like,
so, I mean, so I mentioned that not because I think that's kind of the nature of the beast in this case, but I'm just saying, like, with other games that are in this area, like, even Ikaruga,
I do think this is like still like the other games don't. Other pre-90s games don't really do any better. Like, I think that this sits there as kind of like a very strong contender for 1990 fantasy pinball. It's only like the improved virtual pinball games that would follow it that kind of had better physics and more opportunity to be better. We're not ranking those, obviously.
I'm thinking below Street Fighter 3, above Outrun 2006.
Yeah. All right, I can work that.
It's done. It's done. It's too late. Yeah, it's done.
I'm not going to fight it. That's fine.
Just one more comment. I do hate that asshole skull that laughs at you when you lose, but it's part of the package.
More games should have laughter when you lose. I miss the taunting the player for failure.
Where's Sinistar when you need him?
That's a fine place to put Devil's Crush, if you ask me. I have a crush on something else.
What's that?
Every single person who has donated to patreon.com/HG101. You know why?
Tell them.
Because they pay the bills, Jeff. They pay the bills.
Which bills, though? What do they help do? What does that money go towards?
Well, there's the cocaine bill. There's the hookers bill. But no, in all seriousness, although we are a very low overhead operation here at Hardcore Gaming 101, it does cost money to keep the site running. It does cost money. We actually pay our writers, not a whole lot, but we do pay them something. And that is key, because there's a lot of other websites out there who don't pay their writers anything. They pretend like they do. They pretend like they're legit, but they don't pay their writers. We do. If you put a lot of hard work into writing a huge article about like every single like Chinese cell phone mobile game version of, Kickle Cubicle or whatever, you're going to get your $50, and I think that's, I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. I mean that, like, you should get some money for it. And we do that. And we do that because of the Patreon donors. If you don't donate to Patreon, if it weren't for those donations, you wouldn't get articles like that, because you know what? People don't just donate stuff like that. They have to have some kind of compensation. And that's what makes the site what it is. And this podcast is very much the same. We require the feedback and donations of listeners like you. If you really love the show, if you want to show your appreciation, kick a few bucks back to patreon.com/HG101. You can also really help us out by going to the Hardcore Gaming 101's YouTube channel, which is now, we used to have a GC9X like separate channel, and that kind of no longer makes sense. So now it's a HG101 channel, and you really should check it out. I know I do, because I'm a huge narcissist.
So thanks to everyone who's pitched into that, and thanks for people who are subscribing there on YouTube to the HG101 mothership.
We definitely should, right?
Absolutely. Premio, great, magical, majestic content, including some of the people you've heard on this very show.
If you like what you heard now, you could hear it again.
Boom.